Hi guys, welcome back to Red Flag Radio F1 YouTube channel. We are here to talk about the qualifying session of 2025 Austrian Grand Prix, where the shortest lap on the calendar, almost 63 seconds of just pushing. We got the biggest pole margin of the season, 0.521 second over the field. Lando Norris, man, phenomenal. And that's a knockout punch on a track where gaps are usually measured in hundreds. Unbelievable, man. What a lap. And he desperately needed that after that Canadian Grand Prix. It's amazing and phenomenal, man. What are your views about
Dude,
Lando
so
Norris?
he was, as you remember, in Q3 he was already up 2.5 tenths even after Leclerc's best lap, and to then go out and deliver a lap that puts him 5 tenths ahead of everyone is just insane. And this is exactly the kind of he needed to, bring himself back into the conversation in terms of the championship fight. So this is amazing. This is exactly the kind of stuff we need from him. And as you said, 63 seconds, but he was the only one who did it in 63 seconds and
Yeah.
change. So
Yeah.
that's great stuff from him. But I mean, Oscar could have done better, man. Clearly, the car had the pace, but Oscar should have been P2 if not pole position. But then it's a two-sided coin, right? Oscar messed up a little bit, as well as Leclerc just managed to pull that rabbit out of the hat with that car. He did not belong in the front row with that car, but clearly they have some pace because this is Lewis's best start for a race as well this season with Ferrari.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if we stick to McLaren, I think it was just pure papaya power show. I mean, Lando Norris has been dominant in all the sessions he took part. He didn't he didn't took part in FP1, and I think from FP2 until the qualifying session, he was like P1 in every session, and that just shows that he's in a different mode this race weekend, and it's phenomenal. And like you said, Piastri P3. Well, I think the yellow flag kinda robbed him. He could have done better for sure. Maybe P2 was a position he could have got with that performance. And
Hmm.
he was not happy. We could see with the body language that he was not pleased, considering he's that driver who is continuously getting those P1s and seeing your main rival smashing the lap record in a way. It's just shows that no, Piastri will be feeling some pressure, if not already, but it's a decent lap for both drivers, I should say that.
Yeah,
Obviously,
but Piastri also, as you said, from his body language, he seemed upset. And of course he did, because you see your rival putting such a huge gap between himself and P2. You know the car was capable of doing that. And sure, he got a little bit screwed over by the yellow flag. That is true. So did Verstappen for that matter. But we'll get to that, his horrible qualifying. But yeah, I just feel like Piastri still could have been more clean during his first attempt, and maybe that would have put him securely in P2 since the car had pace. So then maybe we would have seen a tenth or a couple of tenths gap between the McLarens, and then 3 tenths behind Leclerc on the third place. But yeah, fair enough. I guess the yellow flag did mess up his second attempt, but then Lando pretty much got it in the first attempt itself. So maybe Oscar could have done better at the beginning.
yeah, but I think Norris would be pleased that Piastri is P3 instead of P2, because if something goes horribly wrong at his start, you don't want Piastri to be close, right? Considering how things went in Canada. So I think Lando would be pleased. Maybe Piastri can do something once the race begins. But so far we have to give credit to Lando. He's doing amazingly well in this race weekend, and I don't think he has done any mistakes so far. And I hope that remains the story for the whole weekend, because we really want to see both drivers fighting hard for that championship. And I really hope Lando will do really well in this race weekend as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he is on course to win this weekend. I do believe he should win this weekend. But I mean, time will tell, I suppose. But okay, getting back to Ferrari, though, amazing stuff from them this weekend.
Yeah.
Unexpected, out of nowhere, because we both were talking about Russell being up there and the Mercedes really being the problem that McLaren has to worry about. But apparently not. Apparently, it's the Ferraris.
Well, upgrades are cooking, I guess, because as per the practice session data, I was thinking that maybe Ferrari won't be there with the maybe Mercedes, Red Bull, or McLaren, but P2 and P4, I think even Ferrari fans would be jumping. Like they were not expecting this to happen. And we know Leclerc is someone who is just pulling rabbit out of the hat, but even Hamilton is there. So credit where it's due, both drivers are with McLaren boys. Like if Papaya team is P1, P3, Ferrari is just showing that we are there, P2, P4. So it's like an amazing thing to watch. Whether they can replicate that in race as well, I'm not sure because I still think McLaren is in a league of their own. But this is an amazing sight, and probably they would be pleased if they can get P3, P4 at least.
Mm, that is true. At least Hamilton is finally finding his comfort with Ferrari, And okay, you know what? Maybe it's the upgrades, or maybe it's just the track. We'll see, because next weekend is when we'll really get to know if the Ferrari truly has got that upgrade sorted out. Because this is a track that we mentioned yesterday during our live stream as well. That is very simple. It's not a lot of load on the car as well, or the driver for that matter, apart from track limits. Track limits is the only realistic thing any team has to worry about here, because the track is pretty much cut and dry. So, but still, I think finally Hamilton can find some solace, and he can find some confidence in himself going forward from this race.
Absolutely, man. This is his best starting spot since joining the Tifosi. So I think he would be pleased, and maybe he said that his car is finally talking to him. So I think there's that positive side which is coming now, and probably this can be the start of something special that's desperately, Ferrari fans really want to see. But I think so far so good. Whether this race can be that weekend where both Ferrari boys join the podium, we'll see. We'll see. But so far so good. But then moving on to Mercedes, Russell P5. Well, he won here last year from P3 and he won Canada 2 weeks ago. He's the Sunday specialist now. We used to say that he's the Mr. Saturday. But what do you think? What he can do from P5? Because honestly speaking, his qualifying was looking really good, but I think he didn't had any pace to show in the final sector. But in I think first two sectors he was on par with McLaren. But P5 is not that bad, and I know he can fight really hard with Ferraris, right?
Yeah,
What are your
you
views?
you're quite right, and I think there is going to be some level of spice between him and Lewis within the first 5 laps, if not some other time during the race. But as for his win last year, I do want to rob credit away from that, because as we keep on saying, he just is at the right place at the right time. He's the snake that slithers past you. And he would not have won that race if Lando and Max didn't take each other out. And
Yeah.
in fact, I think Max still finished the race at least, but Lando was a straight DNF. So
Yeah.
there is just no way Russell gets away with a free win that was handed to him on a silver platter if Max and Lando had raced cleanly last year. But that being said, I do believe he's going to make up some positions in the race, and we might see him on the podium. He's just one of those people. He'll find a way to get on the podium, and it is still going to be very annoying.
Does nothing, join the podium.
Fine.
Whether that will happen, we'll see. But yeah, on the other side though, I don't think Antonelli would be pleased with P9 because let's be honest, Russell was looking like the dominant one here, but he could have done better because P9 means that he has to do the job in the race and probably make some positions if he really wants to fight with Ferraris as well. So,
And
not the
that's
best
just
start.
not gonna happen, because he's quite a ways away from the Ferraris. Because between him and the Ferraris, there's gonna be at least four other cars, and he's getting out qualified by Bortoleto. I mean, and firstly, congratulations to Bortoleto, because he's the Sauber driver who is coming out of nowhere and fighting in the top 10. So insane stuff. But getting back to Antonelli, yeah, getting out qualified by a Sauber in a track where your engine is suited better in terms of temperature and performance is very tragic, which just goes to show that perhaps he is not comfortable at this track, and therefore I don't see him battling the Ferraris, for tomorrow. And that's why I think he's going to be in the bottom half of the points.
Well, there are some weekends where you have to accept that, considering he got that podium last race. So,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it can be that damage limitation weekend for them, but if he can make some positions, then we would love to see that, because he's that punchy driver who always loves to fight, and he has that, you know, young blood, and he's done with his exams, so probably there's some less pressure to deal with on racetrack. But we'll see.
Yeah.
Their long run pace on mediums look tasty. Whether that will replicate on Sunday, it's another story. But I think we have to talk about the driver of the day, Liam Lawson, P6, man. And it's an amazing start. And I think no one expected that to happen. And he's the lead Red Bull backed car right now. We thought that something we may see when he joined Red Bull. But yeah, I think it's all about racing bulls. And finally, he got some comfort with the car. And amazing stuff, man. And not only in Q3, but I felt like he was doing so well even in Q2, and he was getting that confidence. I think for the first time, Liam Lawson would be saying that, yes, maybe I am the lead driver now. Maybe I can show that 2024 performance again, and maybe he can do even better, because P6 is an amazing spot to start with. And we thought that maybe Racing Bulls doesn't have that performance, but clearly we were wrong, man. I think that's the story about every team. Like, the teams which we thought will do really well, they were disaster, and the teams which we thought are not that great as per the data of first two practice sessions, they
Hmm.
pulled out the rabbit of the hat. And amazing stuff by Lawson. It's crazy.
Especially to outqualify Verstappen is the biggest middle finger he can show to Red Bull in general. But as much as I want to join you in giving him credit, I think it's a one off for him as well, because if he really had this kind of pace and the car was really this good, we would have seen this 5 races ago, and we would have seen this every race since then. So I don't think we get to, really chalk that up to him. But then, like we said for Kimi Antonelli, that this is just one of those tracks where he's not comfortable. Perhaps for Lawson, this is just one of those tracks where he's very comfortable. So, that being said, I would love to see him and Max Verstappen go toe to toe, because, I mean, what else
We
can
wanted
you
to see
say?
that.
Exactly. What else can you say to Red Bull except, listen, man, you did make a mistake?
Yeah, man. It will be a statement if he can perform well and, fight wheel to wheel with Max Verstappen. Hopefully, it's a clean wheel to wheel fight, because Verstappen desperately needs that. But really wanted to point that out about Hadjar as well, who was, I think, who got P13 this race weekend, but he was in Q3 for almost four straight race weekends, and he was not happy. He snapped. He was even grumpy on radio, and he didn't enjoy that performance, because I think he knew that there was space. So, and considering Lawson P6, I think even he wanted to show that I am that driver who always wants to perform, but sadly he couldn't, right?
Exactly. But then I think he should get over it and focus on the race tomorrow, because he still has an opportunity to back points. The cars in front of him are not necessarily the fastest, and we've seen that Bortoleto is not really the hottest driver in on Sundays. So if he ends up tumbling from the points, then that's one position that Hajar has made up right away, and then he
Yeah.
can go battling Antonelli and others to maybe back 10th or ninth position as well. So yeah, still hopes for Hajar, but
Yeah.
Lawson should again keep a clean nose and just focus on getting some points. That's all. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be a spicy race with Max Verstappen, although I would love that, and I would love to see Verstappen ruin his own weekend next Sunday. But still, I guess we'll see what the Racing Bulls and the Red Bulls do tomorrow.
Yeah, because if we have to talk about Max Verstappen, I think that's his first start of season. I think even in Bahrain, he was P7, but he was not happy. He complained that car was undrivable. Even yellow flag came at the right time, not for him, but for the others. And but there was no pace. It was not like if there was no yellow flag, he would have gotten pole position. There was no pace. And again, Yuki Tsunoda P18, another Q1 knockout. And I don't know, man. This maybe it's just it's a car which they can't drive, and it's just like trouble at home, where Red Bull Ring doesn't showing any power from Red Bull, right?
Exactly, but the thing is, with their upgrades as well, we heard during the live commentary from the qualifying as well that the front end of the car is just not cooperating with Verstappen, and supposedly that was their main party trick so far, leading up to this season. For the past 3 4 seasons, the party trick of the Red Bull was that it was very predictable exclusively for Verstappen. And
Yeah.
to for Max, you have to feel bad for him, because now suddenly the one major tool in his arsenal that he relied on to deliver very good performance on qualifying as well as on Sundays is suddenly ripped away from him.
True.
It's like his strongest weapon has become his weakest link now, and that's going to hurt a lot to Red Bull, because then going from here as well, there is not a long upgrade schedule for the Red Bull. It's
Yeah.
going to end very soon, and then that just means, like we mentioned yesterday, it's like handing a blank check to Mercedes and Ferrari and McLaren that, look guys, this is the best we can do. Feel free to beat us.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the, I think, the fifth team that we are covering. So I think that's just the genuine pace they have. And
Hmm.
I I really think that maybe Verstappen can do something in race, but in all honesty, that car is just undrivable. That's how I see it. And maybe after this race, probably Verstappen will be busy talking to Toto Wolff that maybe he wants to join Mercedes if this is the situation with Red Bull, right? Because they are not going forward. And Yuki Tsunoda just can't do anything with that car as well. Yes, he doesn't have any upgrades, but I don't think even with those upgrades, he could have done something better. It's just
Exactly.
another story where you just can't move forward with that car. And we have seen after every race weekend, that's the story.
And you say that he might do well on Sunday, but I doubt that as well, because on a car that does not have good front end, and you're lacking grip and is understeery beyond measure, if you're gonna go racing behind some car's slipstream, that's only more nightmare fuel for in terms of handling, and no matter who he goes racing against, be it Lawson or be it some other car, as soon as he gets in their slipstream, which he must do because this car has a lot of straights, this track has a lot of straights, you're just not going to be feeling comfortable breaking into corners when you're actually trying to overtake them. So
Yeah.
that's just adding insult to injury, man. And yeah, that's just tragic for Red Bull. I'm smiling because love it, but man, that's tragic.
Yeah, man, because I think Max Verstappen would be busy fighting with Lawson as well as Bortoleto because Bortoleto made his first Q3 appearance and he's with Max Verstappen. P8, man. And even in qualifying two session, Bortoleto was P3. And this is like genuine pace from Kicksauber now. They bought some upgrades last race weekend. They brought some upgrades this weekend as well. And this car is moving forward considering when we started in Australia we said that this car will be something that will be undrivable and probably we will talk about this team at the last stage only, but from last 2 3 race weekends we are just seeing that they are there and it's an amazing sight to see because Kick Sauber, we really want to see Hulkenberg be close to podium, but even Bortoleto, who is the rookie, and this is an amazing part from his side that even he can get some points and I think he's that one driver who is next on the list who should get some points, right?
Exactly. And Bortoleto is the final nail in Red Bull's coffin, because this weekend is an all around insult to Red Bull, no matter how you dissect it. Because both Racing Bull drivers outqualify both Red Bull drivers, and the driver that Helmut Marko was giving a lot of heat at the beginning of the season is
Yeah,
also right next to Max Verstappen, and he's gonna go battling as well, because he's not gonna back out just because a 4-time world champion is in front of him, right? So
absolutely.
Max Verstappen is pretty much in the worst sandwich imaginable. So, yeah, it's a horrible weekend for Red Bull, and I'm glad that Sauber is doing so well ahead of their merger with Audi or takeover from Audi. And I think this is going to reinstill a lot of faith in Audi as well, because they're seeing that this team is doing a good job with its upgrades and all. But I never in my wildest dreams imagined that the upgrades they bring was to remove their regular engine and put a SpaceX Raptor engine and become a rocket ship.
Yeah, man. Clearly, we can see that. Although that was not the case with Nico Hulkenberg, who will
Hmm.
be starting from P20, but he can do well. And we know when it comes to race, he's in a league of his own when it comes to both drivers for Kicksauber. But probably he can extract some performance, maybe some strategy gamble can work in his favor because he's famous with the way of doing that from past, I think, 2 3 race weekends. But let's see. I really think that there are points on the table for Kicksauber if
Hmm.
strategy is clean and if everything goes according to the plan. But let's
Yeah,
see.
but not for Hulkenberg. Though no matter what strategy he pulls out, I doubt they're going to be that fast that they can make up 10 positions or more, because that's just a little bit unrealistic. But yeah, I think he could have been up there as well with Bortoleto. But regardless of that, glad one of the drivers is pulling the weight every other
Yeah.
race.
True, man. It's like one driver is always there, which is at
Exactly.
least
That's
something.
clutch, man. That's clutch.
Yeah, exactly. But speaking about clutch, I wanted to bring Alpine here because, yes, Gasly did make into Q3, but he was the reason behind that yellow flag. And yeah, he will be starting on from P10. And we have seen Alpine being there in, Q3, but no points to show. And that's why they are the last team in the standings. So what we can expect. And Cola Pinto is also starting from P14. So I don't know what they can do from here because let's be honest, I never thought that they would be this close. But in qualifying, they did show some positives, but whether they can replicate that in race,
See, I
maybe can
doubt
be.
Colapinto can back points, but points are definitely on the table for Gasly. I mean, even if he does nothing the entire race and remains P10, that's still 1 point, right? Which is, since the past 3 races, Alpine has been not doing anything. They have not been getting any meaningful points. And the past couple of races, they got no points at all. So anything is good right now. Like better than zero, rock
Yeah,
bottom, even if it's a little bit above that, it's still above rock bottom.
yeah. They need some points because, as we said, they are the last in the constructor standing. So whatever points they can get, I think they would be pleased. But if other teams are doing well, I'm not sure that would be a great sight for Alpine.
Yeah,
But
but
let's see.
at least Williams is still not up there, which is supposedly Alpine's main rival. I mean, doesn't seem like that anymore because Racing Bulls and Sauber are also catching up. But man, another weekend when Williams has not been able to do anything, it's a little bit tragic, and it's getting out of hand for them, because the first quarter of the season was insane for them. They sailed to P5 like a hot knife going through butter.
Yeah.
But now it's just looking a little bit tragic. I mean, this is one of the worst qualifying for Williams in the past 5 races at least, I think.
Yeah, man. I think they have gone on a reverse gear for some reason because it's just going backwards. And Albon P12, maybe it's a respectable position, but they felt like that Williams will do better here. But clearly, there's no pace. And Sainz P19, I mean, it's, I think, his third straight Q1 exit. And he did say that maybe car is damaged. We are not sure. But maybe some frustration must be growing at this point because they said they don't want to bring any upgrades. But I don't think that can be the case right now because all teams are doing better from here and just Williams are just going backwards. And that will definitely hurt their morale as well going forward because 2026 is something that it's that year where they really want to do well, right?
Exactly, and you're right, this is a little bit sad, but at least Albon is still making a case for there being some pace in the car, and maybe with some strategic gamble and Albon pulling out a tire whisperer move, he can maybe try to get some points. Maybe he can aim for P10, because it's not too far off for him, and he's still able to fight at least 5 6 cars ahead of him. If he can make that work somehow, that'd be great for him.
Yeah, I think there will be some big fight for P10 because we are thinking that there will be many drivers who will be fighting for that, including Aston Martin's Alonso, because we did say that they looked like a dark horse because the pace they were showing in FP2 and even in FP3. I will be honest, as an Aston Martin fan, I am disappointed because I really thought that maybe Alonso will be in Q3, but P11, obviously, he's 23-0 against Lance Stroll, and I think you would be happy with that. And your kidneys are safe because Lance Stroll will be starting from P16. But That was not that great performance from Aston Martin, right?
Absolutely, but yeah, thank you for reminding me my kidneys are safe. But then this was a very easy bet for me because, I mean, what is he doing, man? Lance is not capable of out qualifying Fernando unless Fernando does not have a car and he's forced to walk the track. But yeah, it's a little bit disappointing since I did hedge a lot of my hopes on Alonso specifically because I was expecting a top 10 performance from him in quali. Even I went even so far as to say P5 or P6, but
Yeah.
my hopes and dreams were shattered. So it's a little bit sad, honestly. But I think, yeah, at least of all the drivers we listed out for battling for the 10th position, I think Alonso is one of the stronger candidates for this because of his experience, if nothing else. So
Yeah.
maybe they get 1 point, man. And I hope that for you and for Alonso that they do bag at least the last points position.
I'm hoping for more because if I have to find that silver lining, I'm just hopeful that they can do better on a Sunday because you get points on a Sunday. So if Saturday didn't go as planned, probably they will do better here
Mm-hmm.
on a Sunday. So keeping my hopes alive. But if we have to talk about hopes and the team has, I don't think there are any hopes because BMN P15, I mean, there's that small win for him because he did out qualify Ocon, but Ocon P17, as we said, there's no pace. And I think it's that pendulum effect where they had to perform horribly this race weekend, right?
Yeah, I mean, I had no doubt with the script writer's promise to us here. I mean, he did tell us that the Haas's won't qualify very well this weekend. So yeah, fair enough. And that therefore that means next weekend, at least if we're looking at the historic data for this season, at least Haas knows they're going to get some points next weekend. So at least that's good.
Yeah, man. Imagine the home points for Oli Behrman because he would be pleased if that happens in Silverstone.
Exactly, and that'll be uh, finally he'll get some points. I think the last time he got some points this season. Has he even gotten any points this season? I
Yeah,
think one
he
race.
has 3 points
Yeah, one race he overtook like three cars and kept saying
in
ciao to
China, I
everyone. Yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah, right,
Yeah.
right. So he did get some points. I think it is a great place to bag some more points at Silverstone, especially because it's a special track as well for all of us fans as well. And more to the point, it as you mentioned, it's his home race. So that is perhaps one of the best places to bag a good chunk of points, even if it's seventh or eighth or something.
Yeah, man. And it's although it's the sad part that we are talking about Austrian Grand Prix and there's not much to talk about Haas because we are
Exactly.
already saying that probably they will get some points in Silverstone. But who knows? Never say never. Formula One can surprise us.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see what will happen with Haas. But I think it's time to move to our favorite part, the top five predictions for the race. I'll let you say it out loud, whatever you think, like who will win the race, who will be in top five. All
Okay,
yours.
I think uh, Piastri overtakes Leclerc and Russell overtakes Hamilton, which means my top five in ascending order: fifth Russell, fourth Hamilton, third Leclerc, second Piastri, and Norris wins.
Okay. I think that's a very respectable top five and something that can happen if there's nothing messy situation. If I have to talk about my top five predictions, I think you won't like it, but I think P5 will be George Russell, P4 will be Max Verstappen, P3 Lewis Hamilton, P2 Charles Leclerc, P1 Lando Norris, and I think Oscar Piastri won't be in top five.
Very
I think
interesting.
that's a bold call because we haven't seen Piastri getting, not getting in top five since I think Australia. But I think this is that race where something horribly with this can be that race where something will go wrong for Piastri. That's how I see it because this is that track where racing happens and I don't know. We
That's
probably
so
I will be
interesting,
wrong.
man. Yeah, I hope you're wrong. God damn.
I
Because
know.
I mean, this as far as bold calls go, this is really out there. But also, it almost sounds like you're cursing the McLaren team with this.
I hope for your sake that it doesn't happen. But as a neutral, I really want to see Lando Norris getting as many points as possible. And that's the reason why I'm putting all my money on this top five and saying that maybe Oscar Piastri won't be there. But let's see how that goes. But if you really enjoyed our post qualifying review, please do smash that like button and show your support in the best possible way, because we love your support and we always enjoy the comments you share. So sub if you are new here, and we are like very close to 300 subscribers as well, so show whatever support you can. And yeah, man, we really hope that this will be that race where we will have a lot of stuff to talk about post race. But if you really enjoyed this review, do let us know. And when the drama hits, we are waving the red flag. Goodbye.